Well, let's get on to our second of our questions of the week. And this is one that's certainly got a lot of debate on social media the last few days. What is the premier event in women's darts? Is it the WDF Women's World Championship or is it the PDC Women's World Match Play?
I think it still is the Women's World Championship, but only just. And there's a few reasons why it's so close already. One is that this event is at the Winter Gardens and broadcast on Sky. And therefore, it's reaching a huge audience with a huge promotional arm around it that ties it to the second biggest event on the calendar, or the third biggest, because I think the Premier League might get better television viewership. So in terms of television viewership, the third biggest event on the calendar. And that's going to draw people in and draw prestige to this event, even for its first staging. That said, the Women's World Championship does have 2.5 times the prize fund for the winner. It's a bigger event. It's a more established event. And because it's a bigger event, it has more players. Even if Fallon Sherrick didn't play in it this past year, even if Lisa Ashton didn't qualify, and even if Anastasia Dobromyslova was wrongfully prevented from competing in it, it still has more of the best players. But that will change. Even if this event only stays at 8 next year, we are seeing each and every Women's Series weekend, more and more of the top women's players going and competing. That will start to shift the calculus. As more of them show up each of those weekends to play the 4 or 5 events, try to qualify for this, it will only raise the prestige of what is going on the PDC events for women's darts. So I'm still going to say the WDF Worlds is the premier event for now, but I don't think that will be the case forever. I don't even know if it'll be the case next year, especially now that the PDC have announced that the Women's Series is expanding to 24 events. And the order of merit is not just for the first half of the year, but it will be a rolling order of merit. So the qualification for next year's event starts at the next set of Women's Series events. The counterpoint, though, to that is because it's now a longer qualification system and it's rotating, we might start and it's rolling rather. We might see some players struggle and decide not to keep playing in all of them. So I want to see how that plays out. It's something that could end up happening, that players who are losing earlier on or not doing as well might stop going, because it is a lot of darts to play in a very short amount of time when you show up for the Women's Series events. And that could lead to some of the top players just no longer playing it as the season goes on. But assuming that doesn't happen, or assuming at least most of them keep fighting, I do think that the Women's World Match Play will become very quickly the premier event.
Well, looking at how the poll is going on our Twitter at the moment, and it's going to be open for the rest of the week, so do go on there, have your say, let us know what you think. 28% at the moment going with the Women's World Match Play, 72% going with the WDF World Championship. And this question really stemmed from the press conference after the final, Fallon Sherrick suggesting that the match play was the premier event, and the players, they'll all have their own opinions, won't they? Some will agree with Fallon, it is the match play. Some will say that it is the WDF World Championship. And I think some people, they've probably got short memories, I guess, because it was only 3 months ago we saw the return of that Women's World Championship through the WDF at Lakeside. We had the expanded field, 24 players. We had that extended format in some places as well, the final first to 4 sets. And we had an increased prize fund as well, 25 grand to the winner, the highest prize we've had in the history of ladies televised darts, and all 23 games shown on TV as well. And I think just because the PDC have come in and put on a TV event for the ladies, which does deserve some credit for doing that, because they didn't have to, but it doesn't automatically make it the premier event for the ladies. Could it become the premier event? I think it could, like you. I think it could become the biggest event for the ladies, and the PDC, they've announced the tournament is going to continue in 2023, which again is a good sign. The Women's Series going up to 24 events next year, which again, more opportunities for the ladies, more opportunities for them to play, which is only a good thing. But I think at the moment, to call a one-session event, best of 11 legs final, 10 grand to the winner, compare that to the WDF event, which is, via the BDO, it's been running for 20 years. It's got 2.5 times more money for the winner. I don't think that's a take that I can agree with. But the bottom line for me is that it's great that we've got the ladies having more events to play in. They've got the Women's World Match Play, they've got the World Championship, and they can play in both of them. I think some people might not think that, but they can. They can play in the WDF World Championship, they can play in the Women's Series. And for me, I think like a lot of darts fans, we'd love to see Fallon, Lisa, Bo, Makuru, and so on, all in the same room, all in the same venue more often. And hopefully that's going to happen, whether that is in the Women's Series or in the WDF events. We'll see that, because I think that the ladies' game is something that's got a lot of room to grow. And I think the more we see those players go up against each other, the more we see it happening on a stream or on TV, it's only going to help grow the ladies' game. And yeah, I think at the moment we are in an interesting position with the ladies' game. I think the PDC, they could quite easily throw more money at that Women's World Match Play, do what Barry Hearn did. One of the first things he did as chairman of the PDC is he upped the prize money of the PDC World Championship to more than the BDO. And again, that's another factor when you compare things, is the prize money. And I think you've got pretty much, it's a close field between the two of them. A lot of players do cross over, but I think at the moment, given we've only just had 1 year of this Women's World Match Play, I think I am going to go with the WDF for now.